The illusions of success. After I finished some early ventures in politics and diplomacy, I decided to figure out what was next for me. While exploring a new career in investment banking, I met with a banker from Morgan Stanley in his lush office in Midtown Manhattan. To all appearances, he embodied success, but ever since that day, I have been haunted by our exchange, never forgetting what he confessed. After a spirited hour-long interview, he paused, choosing his words carefully. "You have had an amazing, eclectic career. It has been full of adventure and contribution." He leaned forward and quietly continued, "I'm in prison. It's a very nice prison, but one nonetheless. I have put career above all else and destroyed 3 marriages, and I'm alienated from my oldest son. I have everything but feel trapped and alone. How did I get here?" His honest reflection was punctuated by the right question. How did I get here? His feelings of emptiness and regret were real. What was less clear was the way forward. And then there's Gloria Nealand, who was CEO of one of the largest global wealth management companies in the world. Her husband was raising their special needs child in San Diego, while Gloria pursued her demanding job. She was absent for extended periods, a reality that weighed heavily on her. But hers was a high-class problem in her rarefied world. And then a pivotal day arrived. Gloria had just closed the biggest deal of her career. She was surrounded by lawyers and investment bankers applauding her smarts and strategic sense. But as she was leaving the closing meeting, a stark realization swept over this talented leader. She had no one to celebrate the biggest accomplishment of her career with. She was successful, yet utterly alone. She concluded that it was an empty victory. But she chose not to remain in her prison. She resigned the following week and found work that enabled her to fashion a life that included those things that were important to her. When I consider stories like those of Nealand and the Morgan Stanley banker, I ponder how many other leaders feel isolated, lonely, and trapped. Oddly enough, we rarely understand the illusion of success until we achieve some. Robert A. Burton, former chief of neurology at UC San Francisco's Medical Center at Mount Zion, offers real insight. We readily recognize meaning by its absence. It's often in the attainment of the prize that we understand its limitations. And if the shocking disappointment with achieving success were not enough, there's imposter phenomenon, known also as imposter syndrome. Psychotherapist Pauline Clance first described it in 1985 as a feeling that your achievements are undeserved and the worry that they are likely to be exposed as a fraud. Such feelings only contribute to a sense of unworthiness, emptiness, and solitude. We all have been there. Have the lights gone out? When I teach my Georgetown MBA class, I pose an awkward question. How many of you would say the lights have gone out for your parents, particularly for your father? I explain what I mean. Simply put, their parents have few real friends, have little passion for anything, lack purpose, and seem adrift. Essentially, they are experiencing what the 17th century French philosopher Blaise Pascal refers to as a vacuum in the heart. Typically, over half the students in my class raise their hands. The others perhaps want to, yet out of loyalty resist the urge. Then I explain that the purpose of my class is to offer practical tools and strategies for life so that the students' own children, taking a similar course one day, would not have to raise their hands. With that, the energy in the room soars. They seem eager to discover that elusive path to keeping the lights on throughout their lives. The most recent data from the National Center for Health Statistics suggests that suicide rates among men between the ages of 45 and 64 increased 43% between 1999 and 2014. And unlike women, who seem to connect in ways unimaginable to most men, men often lack the ability to reflect and disclose their pain and feelings of isolation. Still, few of us are taught to explore the deeply human matters that are at the core of who we are. Our identities are typically tied to what we do rather than who we are. The result can be feeling lost, which often leads to poor choices. Harvard business professor Clayton Christensen observed that none of his former students set out with the intent to destroy their marriage, become alienated from their children, commit suicide, or even end up in jail. Yet many of his students found themselves there, broken and alone, wondering. We are taught to chase success and assume everything else will take care of itself. That is not how life actually works.